We wanted to welcome Madeleine Teska as our next speaker. Maddie came to me right before Andrew's speech. I handed her a quotation. She will be performing impromptu speaking. She gets a very short amount of time to prepare a quotation. She's given two. She gets to pick one, and she makes a persuasive speech based on a philosophical quotation. Before I welcome Maddie, let me tell you a little bit about her year. Maddie has won awards at every single tournament she's been at. She is also, by the way, our vice president. She is our club treasurer and, thankfully, our social media guru and the person that I call every time we need a flyer or program. She made the programs. So she's definitely been our go-to. She's also won first place, second place, third place in impromptu, extemp, debate. So she's had a really great year. At the national tournament, Maddie was, I have to remind myself, she was a quarterfinalist in impromptu, and she was in the top 30% in extemporaneous speaking, meaning that she took home an excellent award. And again, these events have over 200 people, so very impressive. Will you join me in welcoming Maddie Teska?
In the animated TV show Avatar: Last Airbender, it follows the character Aang and his journey to become a fully fledged avatar. In this universe, people have control of the elements, and Aang specifically being able to control all four of them: air, water, earth, and fire. Now, he's a 12-year-old boy who's tasked with saving the world, and part of this saving the world is becoming a master of all of these elements. However, throughout his journey, he does very much what a 12-year-old boy, what you would expect a 12-year-old boy to do, just want to goof off and have fun. He receives a lot of criticism from this, people claiming that he's not taking his duties seriously. However, despite all the criticism he faces, he still focuses on having fun and focuses on the positive. This brings us to the quotation today. Turn your face toward the sun and the shadows fall behind you, a Maori proverb. Now we can see that this quotation is true, because when you focus on the positive, it makes everything in life easier. We can see this in two different ways. First, with how focusing on the positive pushes you forward, and second, how when you change the narrative, you can have a more positive spin on things. Now, the first way we can see how when you focus on the positive, it makes everything better, is how specifically it pushes you forward. And we can see this in two different ways. First, with the history of the U.S. women's rights movement, and second, with author Elie Wiesel. First, with the U.S. women's rights movements. There have been multiple of these across the years, starting in 1860, again in 1920s, again in 1970s, and arguably even today. And each time this movement resurfaces, it has a positive spin on things. Instead of looking at the past about what the people and the advocates were not able to accomplish, it instead looks at the accomplishments to keep pushing forward. And with the women's liberation movement in the 1970s, it didn't look to the 1920s and see the failures of what they weren't able to accomplish. Instead, it looked at the fact that they were able to pass the 19th Amendment, that they were able to get women's more rights. And it allowed them to keep pushing forward, keep asking for more and better equality for all. The second way we could see this is with the author Elie Wiesel. Elie Wiesel was a boy living in Germany when the Nazis came to power, and because he was Jewish, he ultimately ended up in a concentration camp. Now, the horrors of what he experienced, we know today. We don't need to go over them. But what he credits for helping save his life is the faith that he had, the faith that ultimately one day what he's experiencing will come to an end. That end might not be in sight, and he might not know when it will happen, but the hope that it will happen is what allowed him to continue living through all the horrors that he experienced, showing that when you have a positive outlook on life, it not only pushes forward societal change, but it can also push forward and save your own life. The second way we can see how when you focus on the positive, it makes everything better is specifically how you can change the narrative. And this allows you to look at life with a more positive spin on things. We can see this with actress Keke Palmer and with the Japanese art form kintsugi. First, with actress Keke Palmer. She's become much more prevalent in the media, being in movies, specifically one of them Days, a recent movie release. And she has had a lot of interviews for this and has been asked what exactly allows her to keep working in Hollywood, a entertainment industry with a lot of disappointment. And she credits what allows her to keep going forward as her mindset of changing the narrative. This idea is having a more positive outlook on life. She didn't get a job. It wasn't because that she wasn't qualified or that she did poorly in the competition for it. It was instead because someone else was better for the job. This mindset, creating a more positive spin out of negative situations, allows her to keep moving forward and allows people to keep moving forward in life, getting them out of a negative thinking cycle. The second way we can see this is with the Japanese art form kintsugi. Now, the Japanese art form kintsugi is specifically with rebuilding pottery. You take a broken piece of pottery and you highlight the flaws that it has made. Instead of just being upset over something that broke, instead it allows people to fix it and highlights that mistake. Painting specifically where the glue was used to reform the pottery with gold, creating an ultimately even more beautiful piece than what originally was. This art form allows people to keep focusing on the positive and see that even through disaster, even through disappointment and mistakes, something even more beautiful can come out of it, showing specifically how you change the narrative. Now, we've seen with how you can change the narrative with the Japanese art form kintsugi and actress Keke Palmer, and how positivity pushes you forward with the author Eli Wiesel and the U.S. women's rights movement, how when you focus on the positive, it makes everything easier. This brings us back to the quotation today. Turn your face toward the sun and the shadows fall behind you, a Maori proverb. Now, Aang, when he's going on his adventures, he ignores the criticisms that he needs to focus on his duty. And that allows him to bring a new outlook onto what he's tasked with doing. He's tasked with saving the world, and the positive outlooks that he has, the positiveness he wants to introduce into this world directly affects how he goes about solving this problem. Instead of seeking retribution, he seeks forgiveness and continues to push the world into a much more positive mindset.